Let me ask you this. What's the fastest way to get sued in America today? It's not committing a crime. It's not breaking a contract. It's showing people that you have money. Drive the wrong car, post the wrong vacation picture, live in the wrong house, and suddenly you've painted a bullseye on your back. Lawyers love that. Plaintiffs love that. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself funding somebody else's get-rich-quick lawsuit. I'm going to show you how exactly to stay under the radar with powerful asset protection privacy techniques that keep your wealth safe. I'll cover the smart moves, the traps to avoid, and even the advanced structures like Cook Islands Trusts that my law firm, Lawyers Limited, and Asset Protection Planners sets up for high net worth individuals all over the world. So stick with me until the end because I'll reveal the single biggest mistake that wealthy people make when trying to keep their assets private and how it almost guarantees that they'll lose them. And by the way, if you want more insider strategies like this, go ahead and subscribe to this channel now if you haven't. I'm the business guy, the CEO of the Lawyers Limited law firm and Asset Protection Planners. And for 34 years, I've helped clients bulletproof their wealth against lawsuits. All right, let's dive in. Solution number one, why privacy is the first layer of protection. Now, America is the most litigious nation on earth. The American Bar Association estimates that over 40 million lawsuits are filed every single year. That's roughly one lawsuit every 7 seconds. And who do attorneys target? They don't go after broke college kids. They go after people with visible wealth. Why? Because contingency fee lawyers, those with no fees until we win guys, get paid a percentage of what they collect. If you look rich, you look like a payday. And here's the secret. The best lawsuit is the one that never happens. And that's where privacy techniques come in. They don't just protect your assets. They make you a smaller, less tempting target. But there are actions that completely undermine privacy. Let's start there. Okay, next up, actions that undermine asset protection privacy. In fact, I've seen clients spend tens of thousands of dollars setting up sophisticated structures only to blow their cover with one Instagram post. Now, here's the worst offenders. Exotic cars. That new Ferrari or Lamborghini screams lawsuit bait. If you love cars, that's fine, but don't plaster them all over social media. Keep a more modest daily driver for visibility. Next, mansion life. Big houses are public record. Combine that with Zillow and Google Maps, and suddenly everyone knows you're sitting on millions. Never post photos of your home on a public profile. Designer logos. Walking around in Gucci head to toe is like wearing a sign that says, "Sue me, I've got money." Now, buy quality, but skip the logo branding. Quiet luxury is your friend. Next, exotic travel posts. The Maldives, Bora Bora, that private jet selfie. Plaintiffs' attorneys love this stuff. They literally use it as Exhibit A to prove that you have deep pockets. Now, the key is perception. If you look average, you're invisible. If you look wealthy, you're vulnerable. Cliffhanger. But here's the twist. You can actually own exotic assets and luxury property and still stay invisible. How? That's what the next section is all about. Okay, now your first cloak of privacy. Let's start simple. A New Mexico LLC. That's where we'll start. Unlike most states, New Mexico doesn't require the public disclosure of members or managers. That means if you set up an LLC in New Mexico, your name is nowhere in the public records. Example, say you buy a $2 million rental property. If you hold it in your own name, anyone can Google the county records and see it. But if you hold it through a New Mexico LLC, the public only sees the LLC name and not yours. Now, that's a powerful shield, and here's where it gets better. You can layer the LLC under other entities, creating multiple roadblocks for anyone trying to connect the dots. But what if you want even stronger protection, where not only is ownership hidden, but lawsuits themselves become nearly impossible? And that's where the Nevis LLC comes in. Cook Islands LLCs are also incredible. The Nevis LLC, where privacy meets power. Now, Nevis is a small island in the Caribbean. I've been there many times. In fact, the premier of Nevis, the head of the island, I have his cell phone number. We text each other. We're Facebook buddies and talk to each other on a regular basis. It may be tiny, but in the world of asset protection, it's a giant. And here's why. zero public records. You can't even look up LLC ownership online. It's a black hole for snooping lawyers. A $100,000 bond requirement. A creditor wants to sue you in conjunction with a Nevis trust, has to post a bond with a court. Non-refundable. Most attorneys won't risk that. With Nevis LLCs, the courts can set the bond for any amount they choose. A 3-year shelf life. Charging orders, court orders, giving people the right to collect distributions from your LLC expire after just 3 years. Before that, you can refuse to make distributions and they'll get nothing. In the US, in some states, they can last indefinitely. They can just keep on renewing the judgment over and over again, and that charging order stays. Next, high burden of proof. A creditor has to prove fraudulent transfer beyond a reasonable doubt. The same standard as a criminal trial in the US. Now, here's a real story. A client of ours faced a multi-million-dollar claim in the US. He had assets tucked inside of a Nevis LLC, and that was inside of a Nevis trust. The plaintiff's attorney looked into suing in Nevis, saw the $100,000 bond requirement, and backed off immediately. Case dismissed, informally, before it even began. But let's add another twist. Imagine combining Nevis privacy with a structure that looks completely normal on the outside, like a U.S. corporation. That's where Wyoming comes in. A Wyoming corporation, the invisible business persona. Now, Wyoming lets you form corporations without the usual designators like Inc. or Corp. So you can literally name a company John Smith instead of John Smith Inc. So why does that matter? Picture this. You get a check made out to John Smith or Pat Jones or whatever your name is. If you're being sued personally, creditors will assume that's income. But if it's deposited into your Wyoming corporation, John Smith, the money belongs to the corporation under its tax ID number, which gives you privacy. And add in a virtual office and nominee officers, and suddenly you've created a legitimate business identity that looks separate from your personal wealth. And this is one of those clever under the radar moves that keeps people guessing and keeps your accounts harder to trace. But let's talk real estate, because that's where many wealthy people slip up. Property records are public, and plaintiffs' attorneys can run asset searches before they ever file a lawsuit. Enter the land trust. So we'll call this land trust hiding your real estate. Now, a land trust is a simple but powerful tool. Instead of owning your home or rental property in your name, a trust owns it. Public records show the trust and not you. And we do that as part of an overall asset protection plan. We usually don't set up land trust onesie-twosies because we combine this with other tools for privacy and asset protection. For example, you own a $3 million beach house. A lawyer searches your name in the county records and nothing comes up. Why? Because the deed lists Sunset Holdings Land Trust, ABC LLC Wyoming, as the trustee, as the owner of the property. Now, here's the kicker. As I just talked about, an LLC as the trustee. And you can make that a Wyoming LLC or a New Mexico LLC. And that way, your name is 2 steps removed from the property. But real estate isn't the only titled asset you need to protect. Cars, boats, even planes can reveal wealth. And that's where the title holding trust comes in. So next, the title holding trust for vehicles and toys. Now, a title holding trust works like a land trust, but for assets like cars, boats, or RVs. So instead of the registration showing John Doe as the owner of a $400,000 Bentley, it shows Aspen Title Holding Trust. So you no longer are an easy Google search away from exposure. Now, there are revocable trusts, which means they don't offer true lawsuit protection. A judge could order you to liquidate them, but from a privacy standpoint, they're incredibly useful. What we do is we add lien strategies, equity stripping strategies on real estate and cars in order to protect that asset in case somebody penetrates through the privacy layer. So still, some people want privacy and protection like we're talking about, and that's where spousal gifting trusts come in. Now, a spousal gifting trust is a private trust that can protect you. That's an irrevocable trust where one spouse transfers assets into a trust and the other spouse acts as the trustee. So why is this powerful? Now, keep in mind, you have to have a good relationship with your spouse. Long-term marriage, the transfer isn't recorded in public filings. It's private. The spouse's trustee structure allows you to retain practical control. It doubles as an estate planning tool because annual spousal gifts, currently up to $19,000 per year per spouse in 2025, pass on to heirs estate tax-free. So imagine moving millions into a structure that's private, controlled within your marriage, and passes wealth tax efficiently to your children. That's the beauty of this trust. But what if you want to involve the entire family? That's where the family LLCs and family limited partnerships shine. So let's talk about family LLCs and family limited partnerships. Family LLCs or FLLCs and family limited partnerships or FLPs keep assets private while maintaining family control. So the beauty of these is really twofold. First of all, central family control. You decide who manages the entity. Creditor protection is next. There are provisions in many states that creditors are limited to charging orders, which are often worthless. Example, a wealthy real estate investor puts multiple apartment complexes into several separate LLCs, and a family limited partnership owns all of them. Public searches reveal nothing directly tied to him, so creditors look to sue and they see a family partnership and they realize distributions can be blocked, and they can be blocked indefinitely and often give up. Now, what if you want a trust to hold assets directly in your own name, but with built-in privacy? That leads us to the Domestic Asset Protection Trust, or DAPT. Okay, now the Domestic Asset Protection Trust, this is what we call a flawed shield. DAPTs are irrevocable trusts you set up in certain states like Nevada, Alaska, or our favorite, South Dakota. They let you both be the settlor and beneficiary. That is the one who sets up the trust, and you can also be a beneficiary, so you receive the beneficial enjoyment of those assets that are in the trust, something normally not allowed. And the benefits are they keep assets private by shifting them to a trustee. So they allow you as a beneficiary to still receive distributions, but here's the catch. Their effectiveness depends heavily on the state. Whereas the South Dakota trust may be strong, but if you're sued in California, a state hostile to DAPTs, California courts can completely ignore the trust. In fact, I've seen it happen. A client set up a Nevada DAPT. He felt safe. The people told him he'd be safe, but he got sued in California, and boom, the entire trust imploded. The courts pierce right through the trust, assets exposed. So what's the solution? The solution? Go offshore. So the next tool is the Offshore Asset Protection Trust, and this is really the gold standard. So now we're talking about the Cook Islands in the South Pacific, south of Hawaii, Nevis, that's southeast of Florida in the Caribbean, and Belize, which is in Central America, an English-speaking country down there. Now, I've personally been setting up Cook Islands Trust for nearly 30 years, and my firm has established more Cook Islands Trusts than anybody else in the world by far. Why? Because they work. So here's why they're unbeatable. Immune to U.S. judgments. If a U.S. court orders you to pay, your Cook Islands trustee company law firm isn't bound to comply. Next, beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, that's the burden of proof in fraudulent transfer cases, criminal level, not civil. So it's very, very hard to do. We've never seen anybody penetrate the Cook Islands Trust we've set up. Next, cost prohibitive lawsuits. Plaintiffs have to travel abroad, hire expensive local counsel, and face nearly impossible odds. So here's how we structure it. First, we place a Cook Islands LLC inside the trust. You're the manager of the LLC while times are calm. So you still control your assets. But when a lawsuit strikes, our licensed, bonded trustee company law firm comes in, they take over, shielding the assets beyond the reach of the U.S. court. So it's like having a financial panic button. Okay, boom, here we go. This is the next part, the big mistake, what not to do. Here's the cliffhanger. As I promised earlier, the biggest mistake wealthy people make when trying to protect assets, they wait until after the lawsuit hits. Once you're already sued, U.S. judges can freeze assets, issue restraining orders, and accuse you of fraudulent transfer. Even if you move money offshore, the court can still order you to repatriate it. In other words, bring it back. If you disobey, you risk jail or contempt. So that's why the secret is timing. It's best to set up these structures before legal troubles begin. Once the storm starts, it's in many cases too late to start building the ark. Now, that's especially the case in divorce. Regular civil lawsuits with other type of lawsuits, we can set it up after in some cases, but it's going to be more costly and you're going to be more scrutinized in court. So it's best to set this up as early as possible in the process. Sometimes we don't have the benefit of getting it set up before the lawsuit, but as early as possible is really essential. So let's go ahead and put it all together, your privacy blueprint. So how do you stay under the radar? lifestyle discretion. Don't flaunt your wealth online. Next, privacy tools. Basic privacy shields. Use New Mexico LLCs, land trusts, and title holding trusts. Next, intermediate tools. Layer Wyoming corporations. You can put your own name on the corporation and you can open an account in that company's name. Checks made payable to your particular name, your specific name, can be deposited into that corporation account under its own tax ID number. It gives you extra privacy. Next, spousal gifting trust. So you can gift to your spouse in this particular trust, still stays within the family, which brings us to family LLCs, a great tool to keep control within the family. Advanced structures like domestic asset protection trust, if you must, but do recognize their weaknesses. And that's where you go to the ultimate protection, the offshore asset protection trust in the Cook Islands, in Nevis, or Belize. Now, which one do we choose? Well, typically we'll go to the Cook Islands. If you're already in a lawsuit, probably go to the Belize because the Cook Islands isn't too fond of taking people right in the midst of lawsuits. So Belize in that case. They're all very, very good jurisdictions for asset protection. So that's the pyramid of privacy. Each layer makes you harder to find and less of a target, harder to sue and harder to beat. So here's the final word. The truth is, lawsuits aren't going away. In fact, they're multiplying. Every year, more billboards, you probably see them out there, more commercials, more lawyers promising big paydays to people who sue people like you, but you don't have to be their next target. By combining smart privacy techniques done professionally with powerful legal structures, you can live your life with confidence, knowing that your wealth, your business, and your family's future are safe. And we do this for people all over the country and all over the world for that matter. So if you'd like to explore this further, visit assetprotectionplanners.com. You can get a lot of free information there. If you're serious and not just curious, you have at least $500,000 or more to protect, schedule a free consultation. You fill out one of those forms there, and then somebody will call you if we think we can help you. My team and I have been doing this for decades. I've been in the business for 34 years. We have licensed attorneys on staff, and we know how to tailor a privacy plan to your exact situation. Now, I'm the business guy, the CEO of the Lawyers Limited Law Firm and Asset Protection Planners, and I'll leave you with this. It's not about looking broke. It's about being unfindable. When you're invisible, lawsuits lose their teeth. So stay private, stay protected, and I'll see you in the next video.